You're a guy who's never tailored anything before, but you're really tired of how your clothes fit you. Well, we can easily change that with a $50 sewing machine, but before you go all ham on your Target and Old Navy clothes, we gotta talk about some things. 1. Prep work takes time. Now, you won't sew with your sewing machine nearly as much as you think that you will. Most of your time is spent on all the prep work that goes into it, like washing your clothes, because even if they're brand new, you made sure to wash them, right? Because they're disgusting. And then you want to iron all the side seams down so they're nice and flat and easy to work with. Like, those things take time. Luckily, there's a really easy way to speed up the whole process, and that's to document your measurements down. So if you were altering a dress shirt or a t-shirt or even a pair of chinos, ow, my plant just stabbed me. I guess that's what I get for buying a fake $10 Target plant. Anyway, moving on. What was I saying? Oh yeah, write down all your measurements so that you don't have to do all the measuring and the pinning next time. You write everything down so you can go back and you buy the exact same garment in the same size, just a different color, for instance, and you can just put some pins in there and then it's off to the races. And then there's the fact that you gotta set everything up because, like you, I didn't have a dedicated space for this for a very, very long time. I ran a very run and gun style of tailoring where I used my sewing machine on a stool. Now, it was great. It worked perfectly fine, but you have to get everything out of storage and get everything set up, and that takes time. 2. The sewing part is really quick and really easy, but troubleshooting your sewing machine, that can be a little bit of a pain. And by a little bit, I mean a lot of bit. And that's because you run your garment underneath your sewing machine for 30 seconds, boom, done. But what happens when your thread keeps breaking or your thread starts bunching underneath your garment? Like, those things, oh my gosh, they're giving me anxiety just thinking about them. Because you're gonna wanna end up throwing your sewing machine at the wall again. Ask me how I know. But luckily, there's some really common reasons as to why it happens. One of them is making sure that when you thread your sewing machine, you have your presser foot up and not down. Now, your sewing machine, it's got 2 discs on the inside of it, and those discs control your tension. When your presser foot is up, the discs are open and separated from each other like this, so the thread can just go on through all nice, and they're like, yeah, come on in, it's a dance party up in here. And then you put your presser foot down, and then those 2 discs collapse on each other, and they can do their job. They can control the tension of your thread. But if your presser foot is down, and then you go to try and thread it, those discs, they're already closed like this, so they're not letting that thread on inside of there. So then you go to start using your sewing machine, but you have 0 tension, and just bad things are gonna happen. Another really common one that also relates to threading your sewing machine is making sure that when you thread it, you make sure that thread goes through the take-up lever. And that one's really easy to overlook because that take-up lever, it can hide on you depending on the position of the needle on your sewing machine. So what you wanna do is you wanna crank that wheel on the side there, and you'll see a little metal hook kind of coming and going up and down like that. When you thread your sewing machine, you want to make sure that your thread goes through that hook and then down to your needle. I mean, that one alone will probably address 75% of your problems. And 63% of all statistics are made up on the spot. 3. Check that bobbin thread. Now, your bobbin is that small spool of thread that goes in the bottom of your sewing machine that makes up the bottom portion of your stitch. In winding or creating a bobbin, it's super easy. It takes less than a minute. You just wind it up on the top of your sewing machine, then put it back in there, and then boom, you're done. But here's the sneaky part about bobbins. They can last quite a while, so it comes down to the whole out of sight, out of mind thing. You'll wind one up and you'll start your project and totally get into the zone, and then you're really excited about the outcome results that you got. You just put your throwing machine away, you put your sewing machine away, you don't think about it, and then let's say a week or a month goes by, you bust it out to start sewing again, you didn't think about that bobbin. So you start sewing again, and then you get about halfway through your project, and your sewing machine, it changes noise, it changes the sound that it's giving off, and you're like, that's weird. Anyway, I'm gonna keep going. And then you finish and you realize that you don't have a stitch in there. So just make sure that you check how much thread is on that bobbin. And even if it's less than, I would say if it's less than half of the amount of thread on there, just make a completely new bobbin, because you'll think to yourself, oh, whatever, this will be enough for whatever it is that I'm doing. No, it's probably not gonna be enough for what it is that you're doing. Ask me how I know. Get in the habit of checking every single time, because trust me, you're gonna thank me later. Now, if somebody could just like text me every single time to remind me, my phone number is 952-48